Hello everyone, this is Gautam from Shailaja. The issue that we'll be discussing right now is your global capability center revolution which India is trying to aspire for. Now, what do you mean by global capability centers? We'll try and look in detail about it. What are the advantages of expanding these global capability centers? And what are the challenges that are associated with? We'll look into detail in this video. But why it was in news in the first place? Primarily because your union budget of 2026-2027 has proposed that the government will be coming out with a specific policy in order to give a boost to your global capability centers, and that's why it is in news. Okay. Also, there was an article that was published in the Hindu on 23rd of February 2026. So in that context, I thought I'll make a brief video about it, right? So the agenda or what we'll be looking at is the definition or what exactly is this global capability centers, how it has evolved over a period of last 3 decades, what are the factors that has enabled this transformation over the last 3 decades, and finally, what are the advantages of it? What are the economic impact of it? What are the strategic benefits if we have more and more global capability centers? And finally, we'll look into the challenges or the risk. Okay. So the idea is that, earlier, like China is considered as the factory of the world. India was considered as the back office of the world. So all the IT support, all the technical support used to be handled by many of these tech companies like your Infosys, TCS, all these companies in India. So it was considered as a back office of the world. So most of the tech support operations or call centers used to happen in India, because all these companies that were based out in West or Europe, most of them used to have the works that were outsourced to Indian companies, which used to act as a tech support or a back office for the world. Now, through these global capability centers, it wants to move ahead in the value chain, and it wants to act as a global nerve center. Okay, so where ideas are going to be generated, ideas are going to be designed, and it's going to be implemented and taken shape, right? So we are moving up the value chain. We'll try and understand what exactly is happening. Your global capability center is nothing but a dedicated, fully owned office which is established by a multinational corporation in India. Okay, for example, you have Walmart, which is based out of US. It is having its global capability center in Gurgaon. You have General Electric, you have Texas Instruments, you have Google, you have Meta, you have Microsoft. All of them are having a dedicated, fully owned office which is established within the territories of India. Okay, so that is nothing but another office. Now, why it is called as global capability? Because the functions that it is going to perform is slightly unique. So it performs some of the operational functions. Earlier it was handling some of the operational functions. And slowly it is now moving into a strategic function, right? It is more or less, you can say, like a R&D office that has been established in India. And why they are establishing in India, we'll try and understand the reasons behind it. And why the advantages of this establishing a dedicated, fully owned office is because the employees work directly for the parent company. They are under the payrolls of the parent company. For example, Cisco has its offices in India, okay, where your IT support or your engineering systems, all these things are being worked out in India itself. The advantages of having, rather than people from India going and working in the global headquarters, the advantages of establishing an office and making Indians work over there is, one thing is that cost benefit is going to be there. If you are going to pull out Indian from Hyderabad or Bangalore and ask him to go and work in, you can say, California, they might have to pay salaries according to the Californian standards, so which is much costlier for a company. Rather than that, you establish an office in Hyderabad, pay its rent, maintain it, but you employ, you can say, Indians over there, the cost is going to be considerably less. So that economic objective is also there. Strategic objective is that all the employees, all the data, all the culture, all the intellectual property is going to be staying within the organization itself. Earlier, companies used to hire third-party vendors like your Tata or Cognizant. Now they're saying that no, let me establish my own office for all the functions which used to be carried out by third-party vendors. Okay, for example, insurance companies in USA, most of the back-end services, maintaining of digital records, processing of the data, call support, all of those was carried out by you can say organizations like Wipro or Infosys or TCS or Cognizant. But then these companies slowly started thinking that rather than going for third-party vendors where data might be compromised, intellectual property might be compromised, or the work culture might be slightly different, we'll establish our own offices. Whoever the employees who are working for Tata, TCS, Infosys, we'll try and hire similar kind of employees in our own offices. That's the idea behind it. So initially in the 1990s, for the one and a half decades, these global capability centers were basically acting as your support services. Okay, they are basically involved in menial jobs like data entry jobs, IT help desk, call centers, and most of it were repetitive tasks, were basic tasks. It does not need much of, you can say, intelligence, right? And the advantage of establishing such centers were purely economical in reason, right? But from 2005 onwards, for the next decade, they started moving up. They started saying that since you are more aware about what is happening at the end, can you suggest us something and can you help us engineer a more efficient process? So the idea was to improve the process itself. For example, I am a customer support and I work for 10 years trying to understand or trying to deal with the customers. So I'll be having some inherent knowledge on the processes of the company itself. So they wanted to use this data and move ahead and try to use the employees for engineering the process, so bringing in efficiency in the process itself. So from basic support, they moved into actual engineering, to software development, to coding development, standardizing certain global processes, right? So they are becoming increasingly involved in the decisions that was taken at the global headquarters. Decisions were still being taken in US, but some of the inputs were considered for the decision making from you can say Indian global capability centers. In phase 3 part of it, they moved one step ahead. They started taking ownership with regard to the products, with regard to the processes. Okay, so they started building their own applications, products from the scratch itself. So it was going from merely taking orders to driving development itself. Okay, so earlier they were doing this repetitive task because of cost advantage. Second, they started engineering the process. They tried to bring in efficiency in the process. Third, they started developing products and also streamlining the processes so that it aligns with the company's overall targets or it aligns with the overall company's vision. Okay, now they are moving into an arena where they are going to act as a nerve center and they drive high-level corporate strategy and global decision making. Earlier, they used to, like in the phase 3, they design production processes which aligns with the company's vision and strategy. That used to be decided by the company itself. Now they are moving up that also. They are saying that let us also come and decide what should be the strategy, what should be the alignment, what should be the broad level decision making principles. So it is moving from corporate IT desk job to high level strategic decision making. Okay, so in between they try to improve processes, they try to build products which align with the company's vision. Now they're trying to determine the vision itself or the strategy itself for the companies. Okay, so why this is happening and the key technologies in which they're trying to determine is your AI technology or cyber security, right? So this this is the evolution of your global capability centers over the last 3 decades. Now, what reasons have enabled these evolutions? Why are company coming and establishing the global capability centers in India? Why are they increasingly allowing these centers to be a part of your decision-making, strategic decision-making apparatus itself? The reason is first and foremost the talent or the human capital. See, that's one of the biggest strength or biggest resource that India has. See, China might be having its advantage in your critical minerals. US may be good with its management and corporate processes or financial services. But underlying all these things, I think India's biggest strength is its human capital. Okay, primarily because the orientation in which the human intelligence works within India is entirely different. We don't we have a more spiritual undergrounding with regard to how the intelligence needs to operate. Okay, and that's one of the attractive features for all these global companies. Okay, there is a ready talent supply. Around 1.5 million engineering graduates are coming out every year in India. So there is a ready-made pool for a recruitment part of it. There is a cost competitiveness beyond labor. So all obviously the people who are having these skills, these IT skills, they're not only coming at a more affordable rates, but also they are good in English, which requires for global operations. Okay, they are having good democratic value systems, which enables you to be inclusive in your outlook and work across different cultures and different time zones. That is inherently within us. Okay, so these are the two, we can say the intelligence is there, the communication is there, and the underlying value system is there. So if you ask me what is the three foundation pillars that makes human capital in India unique compared to others, is these three things: the intelligence, the communication, and the underlying value system. Because underlying value system, we inherently believe in democracy, we inherently believe in Vasudeva Kutumbakam. As a result, our outlook itself is inclusive in its origin and foundations, right? And obviously there is mature accounting systems that has been developed in the country, right? And there is rise of agentic AIs, where right now what is happening is the coding and all basic coding was done by all the coders. With the coming of your artificial intelligence, some of the mundane coding works is going to be taken over by this artificial intelligence, but they still need human capital, or they still need human resources to manage this artificial intelligence. Basic coding can be done by all this artificial intelligence, but what should be the architecture part of it? What should be the strategy part of it? What are the real life scenarios? Those things are still need human interventions. So these global capability centers are thinking that we'll use the AI and we'll use the human capital to go for a massive expansion or adoption of artificial intelligence itself. Because even for adoption of artificial intelligence at an industrial scale, at a massive, at a company scale, you need that human resource, and that is available in India. So human capital advantage is one of the biggest pull factor for all these global companies to establish the centers in India, right? Next, we are having ecosystem and infrastructure. We are having a good, robust digital ecosystem. I think especially your UPI system, the digital literacy is at a much more advantageous position. There's a strong policy support. Our India has announced Digital India Mission, India AI Mission. So there's a strong recognition from the government side that we need to push this particular industry. There is a recognition that we need to frame a dedicated policy flow global capability center. So there is a policy support with regard to these centers, and which is one of the factors which is allowing these MNCs to set up their GCCs in India, right? So the policy support involves your, you can say, financial incentives. So they'll say that we are going to subsidize the tax for you if you set up your global capability centers in India. Now, why do governments or state governments offering all these subsidies? Well, it's primarily because of economic benefit. What is happening if Google establishes its GCC in Bangalore or Hyderabad or Gurgaon? It is going to provide employment, or high-level employment, high-quality employment. That's one of the important aspects. And there are around 1,800 plus global capability centers that is located in India, and nearly 2 million professionals are employed. So around 20 lakh people are involved in this entire industry, right? And if this industry is booming, it is obviously trying to earn money by selling its products and services across the world. They are bringing in foreign exchange. So economic advantage with regard to providing employment, with regard to earning foreign income is an important factor that is making all these state governments and union governments to provide some incentives and try and attract them to establish the centers in their respective states, right? So, and at the forefront was always your Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister N. Chandrababu Naidu, who is pitching his state as the next destination for your quantum and artificial intelligence technology industry itself, right? So he's providing various incentives, be it land, be it tax subsidies, be it ready-made pool of your talent. So all those things. Okay. So another strategic benefit of having these centers, economic benefit we already saw, employment and foreign exchange. Strategic benefit is that India becomes indispensable for all these global corporate giants. So they cannot neglect India. So that will act as a leverage for us. Second thing, these global capability centers will not be only limited to the metro cities. They are trying to expand beyond metros in Indore, in other tier 2 in Mysore, or in other tier 2 cities, so that growth or regional development will also be decentralized. So that is one we can say growth or argument for having these GCCs in India. Another big factor is that there is going to be knowledge spillover. So suppose I as a person work in a global capability center in Google in Bangalore for 10-15 years. I get certain knowledge, I get certain understandings, despite whatever might be the confidential agreements that I might sign. I'll be having my own inner understanding or knowledge of certain things. That maybe I'll come out and establish my own company. Maybe I'll try to make use of those knowledge in Indian government services, right? Your Nandan Nilekani, I think the experience that he brings by working with US tech giants has helped India spearhead or move ahead with regard to building of digital public infrastructure. Your UPI, your Aadhaar, were all spearheaded by your Nandan Nilekani. And primarily because if you can attribute one of the factors is because the learnings that you might have got by working in all these corporate multinational tech companies, right? So there is going to be a knowledge spillover which is going to strengthen your local startups. And finally, it is going to eventually turn into an R&D. Ultimately, you are trying to create ideas, right? You're trying to design policies. You're going to determining decision-making strategies. So it will going to inevitably function as the brain of the organization. So slowly, India is moving in that direction. So are we creating conducive policies for the more rapid growth of GCCs is the question, right? Right, but there are certain challenges that we are having right now. So far, we saw the evolution of it. We saw what factors are enabling it, and we also saw what are the benefits of having this GCCs operate in India. There is an economic benefit and there is a strategic benefit. We'll now try and understand what are the challenges. See, true that we are producing 1.5 million graduates, engineering graduates every year, but the requirement for this global capability centers is very niche. And there is a mismatch with regard to the market demand and the curriculum that is being taught in engineering colleges. First thing. Second thing, whatever is the demand for this niche expert talent, they are still in shortage in India. So at an outlook, it looks 1.5 million graduates every year. But are they employable? Are they having the right skill set to meet the demand in the market? So that's the question. So the talent gap still persists despite availability of large number of engineering graduates. The supplier trap. So they might be arguing, so you might design the product, you might design the strategy, you might design high-level decision-making principles, but who is going to own that? Who is going to be the ultimate owner of that? It is still going to be your US company. So what all they're doing is this just controlling the intellectual property so that the money eventually flows out of India and goes to that parent company which is in US. So the argument is that you might be just supplying it. You might be just doing all those things. You are just supplying the talent. Are we owning that? So that's one of the challenges that is going to remain. Right? Obviously, there is cyber security vulnerabilities because there is state-sponsored cyber attacks from hostile countries. Especially, we know China does not hesitate with regard to attacking our, digital infrastructure as a part of its warfare strategy. So there is increasing instances of cyber vulnerabilities in the present day interconnected world, right? So we need to be aware about it. We need to take steps in order to be digitally safe, right? And finally, there are, geopolitical risk. US might tomorrow come and say that no more establishing any centers in India. Or if at all you're establishing centers in India, you might have to pay more taxes. So there is that uncertainty that is always going to linger. right? And if at all these companies want to expand into tier 2 or tier 3 cities, are we having the necessary physical infrastructure in place to attract these companies and establish the centers in tier 2 and tier 3 cities? The potential is there, but are we having the necessary infrastructure for these companies to operate in the long run? Obviously, there might be regulatory challenges, your central and state government different policies, because our still administration is rent-seeking behavior. That mindset is still there. If at all you want to operate in India, you have to pay me certain fees or you have to pay me certain bribes. So that rent-seeking behavior, that corrupt behavior is still there. Will that might create, you can say, regulatory challenges for the companies to come and establish the centers in India. Okay, so these are all some of the challenges that are associated with GCC expansion. I think you've got a brief idea about it. See, there might not be exact specific question on GCC or it's the policy features, no. But the understanding of it might help you frame your better arguments in your essays or in your ethics. If you know the evolution part of it, if you know the underlying factors that has contributed to the evolution, if you know about the challenges, you will somehow make use of this knowledge in other fields, okay, in other papers. Okay, so that's the idea. That's the reason why I thought I'll discuss with you. Let's look into one of the question. The GCC boom risks creating islands of prosperity in Indian metros while leaving the broader economy untouched. Do you agree? So they are basically saying that it is only centered in your metros, and the other parts of the economy, other parts of the country are untouched. So they are analyzing the potential of GCC expansion in tier 2 and tier 3 cities for inclusive development. So you need to give the arguments or the potential for the expansion in tier 2, tier 3 cities and the challenges for such an expansion. So it is slightly specific question. Let us try and see if you're in a position to attempt it. If you're able to attempt it and get a feedback on it, please send me your answers to this WhatsApp or to my email ID. So all the very best. Thank you.